Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to show you a new modifier which has been added to the beta version of Blender 2.83 which actually went in beta a couple days ago. The modifier I'm talking about is the Remesh modifier. Well, actually the Remesh modifier has been there for a lot of time, but there is a new mode which actually looks like it's by default uh, on the voxel mode, which is simply implements the Pablo Dobarro remesh method with voxels, but in a non-destructive way. And it's pretty interesting to use this modifier mode for concept and blocking of the main shape of a model. And I will rapidly show you how you can quickly build shapes and volumes. Let's say I want to model a arm. Now I created this mesh and I add a subdivision modifier to it, and I put it before the remesh modifier. I add a couple of viewport subdivisions so it's smooth. So this is my mesh right now. I want it to be shaded smooth, and I activate smooth shading here as well. And when I activate back the remesh visibility, this is what I get. Let's see the wireframe. Okay, I can choose the size of the voxels, which determines how dense the mesh result will be. In this case, this is 0.1 meters. Let's say I want it to be a little bit more detailed, for example, and I can go 0.05. So I double the resolution of the remeshing. Let's see how it looks. Okay. Now let's say I want to duplicate this thing. I hit Shift-D to duplicate in object mode this shape, and for example, I move it like this. When I go out of object mode, as you can see, the whole thing gets remeshed in one block, even if my my two pieces are separated. When I go in edit mode, I can still edit them independently by pressing L while mouse hovering on the piece that I want to move and isolate and move around. Let's also display modifier in edit mode so I can preview the remeshing in real time while moving pieces of meshes. This is cool because this is a method I used to use in ZBrush as well, but ZBrush remeshing is destructive. It's just like this. It's like I go in sculpt mode, for example, and I remesh with this panel here. I hit remesh, the mesh gets remeshed, and the algorithm, the method that is used to remesh in object mode is the same of the modifier, as far as I understand, but it is destructive, which is okay if you are sculpting. For example, I select my snake hook and I edit my mesh. At a certain point, it gets messed up, but if I hit Control R, I remesh with these settings, and I can keep going sculpting. This is basically the same of Dynamesh in ZBrush. It's just the same workflow. You edit your mesh, you sculpt, and then remesh, sculpt, And as soon as your mesh gets messed up with structured and strange polygons, funky stuff going on here, you just hit Control R, and that's it. Your mesh is remeshed, and the topology is pretty uniformly distributed. The polygons are uniformly distributed on your mesh, and I can of course increase or decrease the resolution. For example, 0.01. I'm going 10 times more resolution here. Remesh. It takes a while. ZBrush is actually faster at remeshing, but this is a pretty heavy mesh. Now let's deactivate the wireframe and just sculpt a little bit and smoothing, and I grab with the snake hook. At a certain point it gets messed up, and I just remesh, wait until it calculates, and that's it. This is cool for sculpting, but the downside is that it is destructive. In this case, as I said, it's non-destructive. I just move everything around, and it's real time. I can activate and deactivate, turn it on, turn it off. Of course, I have to be careful on the complexity of the geometry. I cannot go real. I think I would be pretty careful going too high with the resolution. If I go 0.01, let's see what we get. Okay, now we have a denser mesh result. Look, if I try to move, it starts lagging. Of course, I have to be careful with the resolution, but for what I want to do, I actually need less resolution with my mesh. I actually probably want, in this case, something like, considering the scale of the whole model, maybe 0.1 is okay, and I can edit it in real time. I hit L on the keyboard while hovering, and I start moving my mesh around just like normal box modeling. So, but in this case, I don't extrude, I just duplicate my geometry to add new pieces. Again, this is a workflow that I would normally use in ZBrush, like adding separate pieces and then remeshing them. But once I've remeshed, that's it. In this case, I can adjust, I can move around the pieces, and having a real-time preview of the remeshed result, like merged everything together. And I think it's an invaluable tool to quickly build your block, your initial model while you're sculpting. Let's say to block out the shapes. It's a mix of traditional modeling and sculpting. I say, now this is my base mesh here. Okay, this is my reference for a very ugly and anatomically incorrect arm, but just for showing purpose. Okay, let's say I hit Alt S to deflate this piece. Now let's say I want to add muscles. Let's say I want to, maybe this is my humerus bone placeholder, and I want to add a bicep. I'm going to duplicate it, and this will be my bicep. I can either press L or select the vertex and Control plus until the whole piece is selected, depending on what I'm doing. Alt S to inflate the piece. Let's activate the proportional editing, so selection connected only, so I just edit the connected pieces. If I don't use connected only, I will edit everything regardless if they are connected or not, but I want this behavior instead. Okay, pretty cool. So let's say this is my rough bicep, and let's add maybe a deltoid, a piece of deltoid actually. Okay, I duplicated the bicep with Shift D, and I'm going to reshape, maybe Control R to add a loop to have more control on the shape. Now I'm just using G and R keys to rotate and move the vertices around, and using the mouse wheel to adjust the soft selection on the fly. I mean, if I hit G and use the mouse wheel, I can preview its effect before I confirm the translation operation with the left click. Okay, let's say I want to have more detail on this one. I hit Control R to add a loop and just pull these guys around so I have a better muscle fiber profile here. And then probably I'm going to Alt S and shrink this part of the muscle to okay. And the cool thing is that the effect is like I have the muscles, and the remesh creates something like a shrink wrap effect around, like it applies the skin on the muscles. I can also apply after the remesh a smooth modifier, which will smooth a little bit, maybe a couple of iterations. Look, this is the difference. Let's say I want I add more resolution. Right now it's 0.1. Let's say I want 0.07. So it's more detailed. But if I don't use the smooth, I get this funky shading here, and I can use the smooth just to correct a little bit that. Let's see how the smooth affects the performance. Right now, not that much. I can still edit everything in real time without any noticeable lag. Now I duplicated this part of the deltoid to create a front deltoid, for example. Right now, I'm honestly not paying attention too much at the proportion. It's just for to show you what you can do with this modifier mode. I think it's very powerful. It's a nice workflow if you want to do organic character sculpting. I mean, once you've done with this, let's pretend I'm happy with this now, and I want to sculpt this. I duplicate it, I apply everything, apply subdivision, apply remesh, apply smooth, and now I have the remeshed version, and I can start sculpting it. Of course, let's turn off this symmetry. Let me just pick my graphic tablet so I can quickly. Okay, oop, it's working. Cool. Look, now I can sculpt details on it. I can remesh it with more resolution. For example, let's say 0.05. Okay, Control R to remesh. Let's use smooth normals and remesh it. Okay, cool. And I can sculpt on it and add details around. I didn't add my tricep, so I'm going to sculpt it instead. But you get the idea. And you can build a whole character with this technique. I think you can even use a rigged character and remesh it to add muscles deformation. I mean, not for animation, of course, but if you want to use a rigged character as a base mesh for sculpting, I think you can do pretty cool stuff with this technique. Let's see. Let's sculpt some more volumes here and just quickly adding shape, volume, and forms to the main muscles of the forearm, anterior part of the arm here, the bicep, the brachialis, Control R to remesh, deltoid, and the bicep, and the lateral part of the brachialis. And here maybe the coracoid brachialis goes here. And okay, now I sculpted some of the masses of the muscles here, but the whole point is that you can instead go here and build the muscle masses just by duplicating your moving vertices around and have a very accurate control on how they are positioned.